Good morning, friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I want you to join me as Mimi and I transform the forest pansy from this hot mess to a neat and tidy, clean garden. Yes, my friends, we are spending some time here in the forest pansy bed. We are going to finally get this bed cleaned up and off to a great start for spring, because before we know it, I'm going to have perennials blooming in this bed. That is right. Right now you can't see them because they're buried in all of the leaves from the forest pansy. So we have got some fun work to do. We've got to remove some leaves. Yes, we are. We're going to get rid of the summer annuals that are still in the flower bed that have long been gone after our 20-degree multiple nights. We are going to cut back perennials that have gone dormant. We are going to take out some shrubs. Sure am. Going to switch them out because they are not performing very well in this bed. It's not the right conditions for them. I have tried. It's not working, so we're going to move them to some other areas. I'll give you more information about that in a little bit, because it is a great time for you to transplant some of your shrubs and perennials. It's a great time to do it. So we're going to take you along for the ride. Mimi is going to join me in just a little bit. She is at Bible study this morning. So what I'm going to do while I am waiting for her to join me is we're first going to get this bed cleaned up. Let me take you on a little tour. This is the forest pansy bed because we have a beautiful forest pansy red bud that is the center of this flower bed. Hence its name. For those of you that are curious, I was pregnant with Jackson when we bought this and planted it. It was like a 15-gallon. He's going to turn 16 in April, so it has basically been in this spot for 16 years. So there you go on that. Love this forest pansy red bud. It is unbelievably gorgeous in the springtime, and then gives me loads of shade in the fall. I mean, not in the fall, excuse me, in the summer. Now it's fall, and you can see that she is naked. So she has dropped all of her leaves, and they are quite thick in here. So what we need to do is come in and number one is get rid of the leaves, because I have got weeds growing in here. I am sure we'll find them. I need to cut back the perennials. I have got, yes, I do have annuals that have perished in the freeze, like these lantanas. They need to come out, and then just tidy up the perennials. So like, for example, we have got hostas in here that are have of course gone dormant. So we're going to get all of this cleaned up, see what's going on in here, cut back some stuff. I've got a container, probably not going to get the container planted today. I don't know, we'll see. But I need to freshen up this container and do, a couple of other things. So for example, we are going to remove, I have got 2 Let's Dance Blue Jangles hydrangeas in here. And y'all, they're just not performing very well in this bed. They are not flowering for me. I have one here, and then I have one just beyond the unique stone. And so we're going to take them out, and we're going to put in a serrata hydrangea that I have no doubt will perform magnificently well. And then also in the back of the flower bed, I think it was last fall or the spring, and we planted 3 Paisley Pup Lakothi, and they're struggling. I think it's too dry for them, and they're just not doing very well. So we're going to pull them out as well, and we're going to take all of these shrubs and we're going to plant them down at along the creek bank. At least that's the plan for today. It may be that we only get this bed cleaned up and we don't move any shrubs. You know what? There's grace in gardening, and it is the fall knocking on winter's door, and there is a lot of grace, and we're not going to kill ourselves to get all this stuff done. So first things first, I got to get all these leaves out of here, because I got to be able to see what I'm doing and where my plants are. So first thing on the list. I got a lot of leaves out. There are still a lot of leaves left in the bed, and that simply is because of all of the, quote, debris from the perennials and annuals that just have their dead foliage up. So what I'm gonna do now is just the fun time. This is where I just go in and just take my time and just piddle in the garden and work from corner to corner and getting the leaves out. Weeds. That's one of the main reasons why I take the leaves out, is because there are weeds hiding under there, and especially kind of near the rose arbor. I have this patch of, I think it's oxalis, that has been an absolute nightmare. And if I do not stay on top of it, and it would have like overtake the entire bed from now until spring. So now I can see the weeds, I can pull the weeds. I'm going to trim back all of those perennials that have gone completely dormant, trim them to the ground, and I discovered something. Oh, it's gorgeous. Let me show you. So when I talk about cutting, the perennials down to the ground that are deciduous, this is what I'm talking about, like, right? So that is a hosta. All I have to do is literally just pull that foliage and it will come right up. I've got some perennial ferns right here, those little brown stalks. I'm just gonna cut them to the ground, not a big deal whatsoever. But what I discovered is, look, one of my hellebores is already blooming. Yes, my Lenten roses have started to bloom already. So what I can do is come in here and get this all cleaned up, so that way we can see those beautiful flowers. I will show you how I do it, but you can see I have got quite a mess on my hands. And so what I'm going to do is literally start on this side and clean up, and then I'm going to work my way, and hopefully Mimi will be here soon. All right, my friends, so I'm about halfway through the flower bed, and I thought I would stop for a minute, kind of give you a little bit of a heads up of what I'm doing so far, and then I'm going to walk you through how to trim back your hellebores, your Lenten roses. I've done a couple, but there's one more that I need to do, so I'm going to take you along for the ride. So let me show you what I did so far. Oh, it looks lovely. You can actually see the plants that I have in here. And it's so interesting. I have already pulled out multiple trees. I have pulled out a poplar tree, a couple of maple trees, a nasty briar that will, if I had not gotten it, it would have just kind of really taken over and been really nasty. It was kind of in this area with those pots, so I got those taken care of. And then another reason that, especially in this bed, that I go ahead and get rid of the leaves is because this is a shade bed. It historically stays damp, and I have a snail slug issue in here. And y'all, the number of snails that were in this area right here, oh my gosh, I took a picture, and in one like 3 square inch. I had 4 of them. And so obviously your snails, your slugs, they're gonna eat the foliage on your plants, make them, you know, it's not gonna kill them, it just makes them look unsightly. So that is another reason why I like to get everything kind of cleaned up so I can control that pest population. But just, you can like literally see what I've done and what I've not done yet. So there you go. All right, Lenten roses, your hellebores. This is totally going to depend as far as calendar wise to where you are located. Hellebores are one of the most easiest, low maintenance, deer resistant, shade loving perennials that are gorgeous. Evergreen. They, you can see this one here. This is one that I went ahead and cleaned up. I do not have any blooms on them yet. Of course, your hellebores, they will bloom at different times, just like any other plant, right? Within the genre, you have different cultivars that will bloom at different times. Here's another one that looks quite lovely. Now, right over here, I did go ahead and get this guy cleaned up because it was like huge. You can kind of see where the leaves are not. That's where the foliage was. And then I've got all this new growth popping up. So these were covered in leaves. So now that the leaves are gone, all of this is going to really grow quite quickly and give me some flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to prune this guy. Now, you do not have to prune this right now, but because I have flowers, I want to be able to see those flowers because your old foliage will hold on and your new foliage is down there with your flower buds. Hellebores are very, very cold tolerant. A lot of times people who get snow, they will be blooming and the snow will be all around them. So super tough. So let me set the camera up and show you how easy it is to trim your hellebores. I've got the camera nice and zoomed in so that you can get an up close view of it. Basically, all of the foliage on the outside, the big, huge leaves, like these big guys, these are the old foliage. So that is what we want to go ahead and prune back. So what you're going to do is take your clippers. Of course, I love my Felco 2s. We're going to come in and go down as far as you can to the base of the plant and simply remove those. And you can see it starts to open up and you're able to start to see those flowers and all of that new growth. If you wanted to wait, you could. This foliage is not looking nasty, but because I have flowers, I want to be able to see my flowers. And if I don't remove this foliage, I can't see those beautiful, sweet, dark purple flowers. They look almost black because they are so dark purple. So you're just going to work your way around. And like I said, this is like one of the easiest, hardiest, shade-loving perennials that absolutely loves the cold weather. It is in all of its glory in the cold weather. They're called Lenten roses. They're not roses at all, but they typically will bloom around the season of Lent, right? So typically they will bloom in, what would that be like? February, March, right around there. So what we're going to do is you can start to see it opening up and you're going to find and just wiggle down in there. If you accidentally happen to cut, new foliage, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Hellebores come in a huge range of colors as far as the foliage. You can get, this is a very kind of a bright green. You can also get them in a really dark, rich green. You can get them variegated, just super easy. The newer cultivars tend to be sterile. Mimi has a massive, huge understory of the traditional hellebores that will set seed, and she has got tons of babies. Like I said, the newer varieties tend to be sterile. Like this one, I've had this in the garden for, oh my gosh, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, and I don't have any babies on this. So you're starting to see where it's opening up. We can see the flowers. They're happy, they're shining. And like I said, great thing about them is too that they are tend to be deer resistant because their leaves are super tough and the deer do not prefer to eat them because of those tough leaves. So you just work your way around. Like I said, if you didn't want to prune it now, you don't have to, but you can see now that we can actually see those beautiful flowers. Look at that. They also make great cut flowers. Historically also, you may notice that the flowers tend to be downturned. There are newer varieties that they're upturned so that you can see them, but we could easily cut some of these, bring them inside, put them in a little bud vase, and they would be gorgeous. Again, if you didn't prune it now, those leaves would fall down. They would get really ratty and yucky, and then this would start to try to push up, and then you can just come around and clean it up. But since I've got flowers, I'm doing it now. All right, I'm gonna keep on going, and hopefully Mimi comes in just a little bit to help me. Alrighty, my friends, so Mimi and I have gotten the whole bed cleaned up. I'll show you that in a minute, but we got on a tear. If you garden with Mimi and I, you know that it's like, you know the children's book, if you give a mouse a cookie? It's the same thing with Mimi and I, but it's like if you give a gardener a plant. So what we are doing is I have 3 snowcap aspidistra that I ordered from Nurseries Caroliniana. They came a couple days ago, and I was going to hold off on planting them. Showed them to Mimi. She's like, oh, let's just go ahead and plant them. So that is what we are going to do. Let me show you where they're going to go. So in this little back corner, this is where I lost the paisley pup because it was too dry. And your aspidistra love dry shade. And so this is where we're going to put them. It is snowcap. Like I said, it's going to be about 30 inches tall. Aspidistra, of course, they grow slow though, but the snowcap gets its name because it'll have these white tips to it. We're going to plant them pretty close to one another. The paisley pup was where this middle one was. I've got 2 ferns here to the right, but we're just going to snug them in here together. And then I do have a traditional aspidistra, just a good solid green one. And of course you can see, so a different leaf structure on it as far as like huge fat will be a solid dark green. So we're going to go ahead and add that in as well. So we're gonna have a little cast iron corner right here. My friends, we are done. Yes, the bed. Like you can see my flower bed now. It's not just a mat of, you know, debris and leaves. It is actually a beautiful bed that you can see and appreciate. Yes, so Mimi was a huge help. She always came in, you know, there at the end when you're kind of winding down and you're just starting to feel like the project is just a little bit too overwhelming. Well, she came in at that right perfect time, and because back here in this corner, years ago, I made the mistake of planting some anemones, right? So these are Japanese anemones, which is a great perennial. They bloom in the fall. They're gorgeous. They're lovely. But those older varieties, they spread and they naturalize. Naturalize is a nice way to say they go crazy and they take over your garden. I have tried to pull out these plants. I don't know how many times, and they just keep multiplying. So the best thing is just to keep pulling. So Mimi was on the job of pulling out the anemones, and there'll be more, but at least we got a good start on them. So let me show you everything that we got done and how much better it looks in this flower bed. We'll start kind of on this corner. So here we go, just got everything cleaned up. This is where in this area here, and then all underneath the Edgeworthia, all the way up, and this whole area right there, that is where the anemones are quite prolific. But just getting the leaves out, like I said, the debris from the hostas and the different perennials that are in here, you can just actually now see the bed. You can see my shadow because the sun is getting ready to go down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I digress. And so you can just see everything. This is jukebox. There's 2 of them, a great low growing evergreen shrub. They don't bloom, they're just a nice, you know, kind of an evergreen structure. And I've had them in here for quite a few years, but my gosh, they were getting really, really happy. This one was overtaking this whole area over here, so I pruned it. Hopefully you really can't even tell that I pruned it. You might be able to see the little nubs down there, but just kind of keeping it in check a little bit. But again, love that. And then the Carexes back here, these 3 that you can see right here, those are the Evercolor, part of that Evercolor series. So love having that structure in there throughout the winter. And then up here at the top we have is Feather Falls. And Feather Falls is a very, very happy Carex. Love having it here. It looks so pretty next to the Southern Comfort Euchera. Southern Comfort has been in this container for, again, quite a few years. I've divided it out a couple of times. I have a little bit of a hole right here. That's because I had begonias in there this summer and they were fantastic. So no worries on that. Tough, great Euchera. Eucheras do really well for me in containers as opposed to the landscape. And Southern Comfort is a perfect example of that. And then here we have the cast iron corner. I love that little nickname. So they are in here. Got those 3 snow caps, the one traditional one, just the regular old, nothing fancy, you know, aspidistra in there. Great, evergreen, shade loving, drought tolerant. As far as I know, the deer do not like them. Just going to be fantastic in there. So obviously we did not move the paisley pups or the hydrangeas today. Could I have done it? Yes. Was it worth killing myself to do it? No, it was not. So that'll be part 2 of this flower bed, where we will come in and get those taken care of, get those moved, get them kind of switched out. It'll be great. But today we're not going to worry about it. We're just happy with getting the bed cleaned up. So it has been a lovely day here in the garden. It's been a very windy day here in the garden. But yes, as always, we appreciate you. Hopefully this has been kind of a fun adventure for you, especially if you're covered up in snow. Hopefully you can live vicariously through us and our shenanigans here at Creekside. As always, we appreciate you. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.